podcast with Amanda, Shandy, and Colleen. My name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And I'm Shandy.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Season 6, Episode 11, episode number 236. How's it going?
Yeah.
Some of us had better weeks than others.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are well into September, I think we can say now.
Yes, we can say that now.
Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess we can start off this show pouring one out, a moment of silence for our girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shandy. Not Shandy. We're not pouring it out for Shandy. She's still here. I just realized that
perhaps I needed a little more context.
And I was just telling Colleen offline that, like, I'm doing a little bit better today. And I was like, I think I can actually even talk about it without, like, bursting into tears. And then just now I was like, words. I can't get my words.
So, Shandy's dear Fiona passed away on Friday.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have led with that instead of getting, like, a whole minute into this. And everybody being like, who died? Who died?
I feel like a lot of our listeners already know, and just like a big shout out to the whole community because I posted about it. And as Frank and I, as we were reading through the comments on the Facebook post, he would be like, "Oh, who's Brian?" I was like, "Oh, Brian, our favorite DP specialist." Or like, "Oh, who's Gail?" And I just realized that like so many of the people that reached out, so many of the comments, it's all from this community. So thank you guys. That was pretty great.
I actually noticed that as well, and kind of
especially the first commenters. I was like, this is all Jay and Jack. Like, wow.
Yeah. You guys rock.
Yeah. You guys really rock. So thank you. And so I think it's so weird because last time we recorded, Fiona was still here. I was a little bit worried because she wasn't eating again. It was kind of a roller coaster. But I had taken her to the vet that day to get another steroid. And then actually the next day, like, she had a really good day. She ate 3 times that day. All she had in her last days was tuna because that's her favorite food. So we were strictly giving her tuna. And the thing is, like, she would like it. She likes it more. She liked it. More like the fresh when you just first get it out of the can and there's like more of that like juice. And so, as her eating was like slowing down and we were getting more and more desperate, like we would just like open, she would have eaten a little bit of that can and then. Did
you just pour tuna juice
open
over
another
everything?
Can. Okay, just open another can. Yeah. So I have no fewer than 4 open tuna cans in my fridge right now, and I like don't really know what to do with that because I don't think I can eat it. I like tuna, but I just
toss them. Save yourself the emotional heartache. It's okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
So she had a good day on Wednesday, and we were super stoked. And then on Thursday, she wasn't eating again. So then we had an appointment for Saturday, and we were like, shit, should we move it up? And she didn't eat the whole day Thursday. So on Friday morning, I called, and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll fit her in. And so she went in the morning, and then I was talking to the vet, and she was basically like, we could push one more round of steroids, or you could do, humane euthanization, compassionate I don't even know what it's called. You could euthanize her. Yeah. And so of course, like my first initial reaction was like, okay, well, let's do like one more steroid. And then I was thinking about it more, and we went to go see her and like talk to the vet, and it just became more and more clear to me that like one more round of steroids would have been, I think, very much for us and not really for her.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I don't think it worked because the steroids that she got on Tuesday were supposed to, it's a long-acting steroid that stays in the body for a month. So it was a lower dose because she was so fucking small, and also, like, steroids have potential adverse effects, which we're not worried about her developing diabetes because, like, right now we just need her to eat.
Yeah.
But even with that, like, it worked for a day, which to me means that it wasn't really working. So what you just like add a little bit more stronger of a dose, like, is that really going to do something maybe for like one more day? But she was ready. And so I think that was probably one of the hardest parts, was actually like taking the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Because, man, what a responsibility to make that decision for somebody else. But she was ready.
It's okay, Shandy. You guys made the right choice because she was ready. So she really made the choice. And cats know. They know. The animals know. And you gave her such a good life that she gave you an extra 3 weeks.
Yeah. And so you have nice, fond memories.
Basically 4 weeks, actually. And it was hard at the time. But once the decision was reached, like, I felt like I knew it was the right decision. And she was ready. She weighed 6 pounds at the end. That was her last measurement. And we took her home, and she had like 5 hours maybe. And I like let her down. She was so wobbly, like she could hardly walk. She was just so weak. But even in her little hobble, like the door was open, and she would just make a beeline to out back. We have a couch, and the last few days, like, she had been just kind of like hiding behind it, which that in and of itself is,
right, when a sign. It's always a sign.
And that's all she wanted. So finally we had to close the door and be like, I know this is like your last day on earth, and it's like the thing that you want, but like I really need you to stay in here with me. So yeah, and actually about 10 minutes before the vet came, she went into her litter box to go to the bathroom, and then we were kind of like waiting for her to come back out, and it was taking for a while, and I was like, is she like going number 2? Like, is she having a problem? And finally we looked down there, and she was just sitting in her litter box because she was just looking for a place to be alone.
Aww.
And like, she was such a lady. Like, she was so clean. She would, she would never be caught dead in a litter box. So she was ready. So I feel good about the decision. And
she wasn't alone. She went out surrounded by love, and she knew she was loved.
Yeah, I think she had a really beautiful death.
Yeah. Well, knowing it was the right decision doesn't necessarily, make it hurt any less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It does help me like find peace, but yeah, no, it definitely it's weird without her. But I will say our vet doesn't usually do house calls anymore, and they did for us. And I'm just so thankful, because I wanted her to be at home, and it was also really important to me that Gabby be there. Because that's the other heartbreaking part of it, is that Gabby's alone for the first time in her life now.
Yeah.
And I didn't want her to just think that Fiona just like disappeared. So we called, actually, one of our good friends, Lauren, who's just awesome, and came over, and she was with us. And she was, Fiona was just like in my arms, and we got to say goodbye, and it was heartbreaking, but also moving and beautiful. And I'm just so thankful to our vet. She's just really awesome, and the technician, and just like everyone. Everyone at the vet knew Fiona, and when I would call, they would know who I was talking about right away, and everyone loved her. So that felt really nice. But even Lauren, I mean, she's such a fucking rock star friend. Like Frank was he just like after it was done and they took the body for cremation, he just happened to like mention like how depressing it is to see like 2 of everything. And Lauren just like, without Frank didn't even notice, I told him the next day. She just like discreetly went over and took one of the food bowls and like emptied it out and washed it and put it away. And I was just like,
yeah,
damn.
That's a good friend.
That's a good friend. Yeah. So It was really hard, but I was struck again by just this community and also just how many people Fiona knew and how many people loved her. Because I had to contact so many people, which, is nice. It was good to feel really supported by everyone. But so many people really, really loved her. And Paul, one of the things that he said to me, Alice from Real Weird Sisters, her husband Paul, he said that Fiona was like the first cat that he learned to love, and which is good because Alice is gonna have cats like no matter what his opinion would have been. But yeah, I think that helped like make him a cat person, and I know that he's not alone. Like there are so many people who didn't really think much of cats, and then they would meet Fiona and just be like, wow, cats are actually awesome. She was such a good cat. And it's just so weird without her. But I will say, Gabby has been a fucking godsend. Gabby is really, Fiona was so affectionate. She, like, as soon as you sit down, she would be in your lap. She slept with me almost every night, like, in my arms. Like, if I was laying on the couch downstairs reading or something, she would be in my lap. If I was on my computer, she would be on my computer. She was just like always cuddling. And Gabby is affectionate. And I think I talked about it in our 2016 election episode, how I was like devastated by the results. And she came up and was like licking my face. I think she's just really emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
And so she's not like a lap cat. Here she's
speaking of.
She's not
talking about her.
Yeah. She's not a lap cat, and she doesn't like to be held. Like Fiona, you can hold her like a baby for like ever. Gabby is not like that, but she let Frank like picked her up, and she just like stayed like that. We don't usually pick her up like that either because we know she doesn't like it. But I think it was just like such a like a moment, and he picked her up, and she just let him.
She's pacing back and forth across the screen right now.
Yes,
for everyone who can hear it but not see it.
Who's a good kitty? I'm a good kitty.
She's like, oh, you're talking about me?
Good kitty.
Keep
I'm
going.
a good kitty.
Like she could be outside right now, but she's hanging out with me. That's so nice. But she's been sleeping with us. She's been sleeping with us every night, like in my arms, like. Aww. Similar to Fiona. She misses
her own way of honoring her sister.
Yeah, she misses her sister.
She misses her sister. I think she really does. I mean, it's again, we got her as a kitten. She was at the shelter in a cage or whatever with several other kittens, and then we brought her home and she had Fiona, and she's had Fiona for her whole life now. And so I think this is probably really weird for her. And she just she loved Fiona so much.
Yeah.
Just so much. She Fiona reciprocated her love, but not always 100%. It was like, she wasn't always sure about her. Sometimes she was older and grumpier about it. So Fiona would lay on the couch, for example, and all Gabby wanted to do was lay next to Fiona. So you'd see her get on the couch on the other side, and just slowly but surely, she'd move a little bit closer and then lay there for a little bit, then move a little bit closer, and then finally till she could just sidle up next to Fiona. So yeah, she misses her sister.
So
do we.
Was Gabby in the room too when?
Yeah, so it was very important to me that she be there.
So she knew what was.
When Fiona had passed, we brought Gabby over to smell her, a couple of times, and she she didn't really react. I think I was a little bit maybe expecting some sort of big reaction from her, but she really didn't react. But again, she's a cat. She knows. Mm-hmm. I think.
They probably,
I think it was clear to her.
Cat communicated in some way, just she knew what was going on before.
Yeah. Well, and what was I expecting, that she would break down crying? That's also the cat, I don't know. But yeah, so she was, she got to be there, and it was, heartbreaking, but beautiful in its own way. Yeah. I will say, we joked all the time about how Fiona very often looked like she was stoned. Like she just looked high, like just her eyes, like her, the way that you can see it in certain pictures. And so when I was talking to the vet, like scheduling the house call, the vet was like, well, you know, I have some time, like I could come over at 4:20. And like most of my brain is just like, you know, completely devastated. But there was the tiniest part of my brain that was like, well, that's fitting. 4:20.
Oh, that's actually very funny. 4:20.
Such a very like oddly specific.
I know. I would have
come out
like 4:30,
4:30. Yeah.
4:20. I was like, huh.
Hashtag the universe.
Well, and speaking of the universe, so, you know, talking about Rockstar Friends, you know, I know that Tasia would have been there if I had made the call, but I didn't call her over because she was on her bachelorette weekend, and I was of course invited to that. And a couple months ago, I decided that I wasn't going to be able to go, and so I am like 100% fully team science on like the
things like public
drugs
health
that
issues.
allowed my cat to die peacefully at home and like be euthanized. And I am simultaneously 100% team universe that holy shit, like the universe like knew that I needed to be here this weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I honestly like I know I'm always like I'm team universe, but I truly believe like in everything in life, like two things can be true at the same time, right? Like
absolutely, yes, absolutely,
and they should be.
And yeah, I mean that's
yes.
Like I genuinely believe that. Just like
I think the right and the left have this problem of seeing things as a binary and like as an either or, and it doesn't have to be. So yeah,
right, it doesn't have to be. Like yes, are some things in life black and white? Sure, you know, like. For instance, I'm not even going to that. But I was going to do it for instance, but it would have sent us down a rabbit hole. So maybe ask me again next week when we do the broad topics and if I remember what I was even talking about.
For instance, a newspaper.
Exactly. A newspaper is black and white and red all over, but not nowadays. It's just black and white and not really red. And red online. I guess it is red all over. Yeah. I guess that technically actually means it truly is red all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the same thing, like when my dog Strider was sick, he was diagnosed with his heart condition on the last day of my job when I was working on Long Island before I was going to move down here. So my last day was in like mid-February. It was right after my birthday. So sometime in, you know, that like second-ish week of February. And I was supposed to move at the end of February. And like he couldn't walk. He needed medicine. Like he needed somebody to be home with him to give him medicine and help like carry him to the bathroom. And just so happened that the day he was diagnosed with all this was the day that somebody had 3 weeks at home free to take care of him. Me.
Aww.
And the same thing with Zoe. My last day at my other job was June 30th. July 5th when we got home was when everything just really took a turn for the worse. And, you know, she needed the steroids and the, like, bringing her over to the food bowl, you know, every hour. And somebody in the very end to help her get into the bathroom. And just so happened the universe worked out that I was able to be around at that point in time. So I also, you know, do think, yes, of course, her body was breaking down. She was going to die. That is a scientific fact. But, like, the universe, I feel, kind of timed it. Like, it wasn't, coincidences don't always have to be, like, you know, just like, oh, well, that's just a coincidence. Like, you know, sometimes I feel like things happen as they're supposed to happen. They happen fluidly within the world that we live in. And that's what I mean when I say Team Universe. So, yeah. Doesn't mean that I'm like, oh my God, Team Universe is going to make sure that I don't get COVID, so I don't need a vaccine. Fuck that. That's not what I mean by Team Universe. That's not what we mean by Team Universe.
No.
So, but yeah. No, I hear you, Shandy. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Sweet,
really
sweet
weird, yeah.
Fiona.
Sweet Fiona.
Again, pour one out for your girl. Now we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're getting her cremated.
Yeah. Oh, what,
And
you
they'll
didn't
give
want
us
to dig
back-
3 separate holes in your rocky backyard and then have to place concrete slabs over it because it wasn't deep enough? What? Not an option you chose to go with.
Well, I mean, because, for one thing, we don't have a backyard. For another thing, I hope we're not going to live here forever. So, like, what happens when we move? But yeah,
Right. Next
we're
neighbors
going to
are
get.
Sometimes I think about that too. I'm like, fuck, I have a whole cat cemetery set up back there for one cat. Whoever moves in here next is going to be like, what the fuck is this?
like, oh, this family clearly loved their cat.
One can only hope.
Yeah. So,
Clearly they're pet people.
Yeah, right.
but we should get her ashes back in I think a week and a half, in a little urn with her name on it, and they're also going to make a paw print. They asked us if we wanted some of her fur, and we're like, yes. Mm-hmm. And then the next day we went back to the vet and we're like, can we actually get some more of her fur?
Oh, did they have more?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't get like the whole thing.
Right.
You know, we got like 2 little baggies.
You didn't go Cruella on it. You just went like sentimental.
No. But we have some of her fur, yeah. And then we'll have her ashes, and we're planning to go to Montana and what is the verb? Scatter.
Nice.
And scatter her, or some of her ashes up there from whence she came.
Okay.
Oh,
I like
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Very poetic.
Just a trigger warning if you do ever watch White Lotus, which is a really great show. But there's one of the character, the reason that she is in Hawaii is to scatter her mother's ashes, and it's Jennifer Coolidge's character. So I'll just let you, anything you can imagine about the comedy, emotional comedy that she brings to try when she has to try to do this. You can imagine. It's like, hilarious and also like kind of, traumatizing so.
I mean, as long as it's not like oh my God, my brain is like not working today. I am so tired.
Well, it's like been a couple of days.
Yeah. The Big Lebowski. Okay. As long as it doesn't turn out like in the Big Lebowski with the
I've never seen
ash scattering.
Oh, right. Oh, my mind has gone completely blank as to what that scene is. I just know it's like crazy.
It's like cringe hilarious. Colleen, how have I seen a movie that you haven't seen?
I'm really shocked you haven't seen this movie. I feel like it's very like in your wheelhouse of.
It is in my wheelhouse. I feel like it's one of those because I've seen parts of it. I feel like it's one of those movies that's been on when I've been around, but I don't know, never paid attention to it. I should watch it. I know I'd probably like it because that's the one where they like that's Weekend at Bernie's. Shit.
Yeah, no, the dude. White Russians and bowling and.
Okay, no, it might be the Big Lebowski. I don't know now. What's the scene that you're talking about? It's a 70-year-old movie. Just spoil us.
Well, they scatter the ashes of one of the main characters, so...
Okay.
Spoiler alert, one of the main characters dies. But it's the wind blows, and then the ashes end up all over them. Which is terrible, but also hilarious.
Well, it's that kind of movie.
Yes. And of course that would happen to that particular character.
Okay. Say no more. Maybe I shall watch it. But that does sound beautiful, Shandy, and I am so sorry that you're going through this. It really super sucks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you would know. Yeah. 2021 is a rough year for broadcast cats.
I told you that Jay has called this the bummer summer.
Yes. Yeah.
Because his car died, his cat died. I was like, wow, we should write a country music song.
Well, hopefully it will be a fantastic fall.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. Except fantastic fall, I did not say, but that's genius, and I'm gonna borrow it.
Fantastic fall. Awesome autumn.
Yeah. Oh, awesome
Nice.
autumn.
Nice. Options.
Yeah, I love it. You're a rock star right now. I guess, hey, I guess this means that you're getting back in the swing of things at work. You're coming up with all these really clever marketing ideas.
Absolutely not.
How has your first week back been?
It was a lot harder than I expected.
Oh.
We're all a mess. We're all tired. She's not sleeping. She's refusing a bottle now. Homeworld does not like the new order, and we're all feeling it. Yeah, it's been kind of a tough week. I think we're all a little down about our new roles, and I mean, it'll only get better. Like, we're still figuring it out.
Well, everybody will get used to it. Like, you know, everybody, because, I mean, she has to eat. You have to. Don't worry, I was rushing home to give Alex a boob every single day before finally, you know, somebody at work was like, oh, yeah, I did that too. And then they were reverse feeding. And the best thing I can advise you is they have to eat. And then as Brian, our favorite TP specialist, was like, they're built for survival. They have to eat. Yep. And they were right.
Well, it's also like...
It's also traumatizing.
We're getting really tired of, like, wasting breast milk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's like finding the time to pump to replenish said breast milk. And, like, because, you know, thankfully we haven't had to really give her
Do you have a bottle warmer?
No, we don't. We warm up water in a Pyrex. And
then that's what we did, too, actually. We also warmed it up and dropped the bottle in that, but
it just feels like more crap to buy, to find, to store in your kitchen that you don't really need.
Well, you don't need a Pyrex. We just did. I think that Jay just boiled water in like a pasta pot. I swear to God, and then just dropped it.
Well, because the Pyrex you can put in the microwave.
Oh,
so you can heat the water in the microwave.
Yeah, no, I think
it doesn't have to be boiling; it just has to be warm.
Yeah, no, I think he just put. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't around. I think he just put it on the stove.
That's also the thing. I'm like, I don't know much about bottles because I haven't had to do it.
If she's not picky, well, that's the other thing is the nipples are also different. That she might just be picky, but like,
yeah,
I was lucky in the end that Alex really just would only drink out of the disposable, you know, not, you know, the nipples that come like one at a time in the plastic and they're like disposable after a couple of uses or whatever. And I would just pump directly into the Medela things and I would just throw those on and it was awesome because with Zach, he wouldn't do that. I had to do the whatever specific bottle, like I had to pump into it, transfer it, and that's what he would drink out of. But with Alex, we tried everything, like the expensive specialties, the ones that Zach had, and then it just turned out that he was like, give me that 25-cent nipple, I'm good.
Yeah, see, we were doing the Medela, because I would just like hand pump with the Medela, and then just we would use that. But now that they're like, those are so small, they're like not always enough. So,
gotcha. Oh, so you're ready, but you can buy the bigger Medela ones.
But I've been using like the Lanuche plastic bags. It's terrible because it's just like all this plastic that like is just going to go into a landfill and like that's stressing me out. But like we have them, so it's like they're in the world, so it's like they're going to go into a landfill if I don't use them. So it's like we just have to use them.
Well, I used them because also with Alex, I donated most of it. Because with Zach, they just sat in my freezer, and it was like ridiculous. It was a gross waste of breast milk, and we ended up having to throw it all out. So with Alex, I ended up donating like 75% of what I pumped.
Yeah, that's what we have, and they're just all these little plastic bags, and it feels very wasteful. And I realize now that there's like silicone of the exact same thing, but they make like reusable silicone ones, and I'm like, oh, had I known that, we could have just done that. Sorry, environment. Between that and like disposable diapers, like just having a baby, like really just like quadruples your carbon footprint.
But then again, you know, don't forget, our carbon footprint is not really nearly enough to change the world.
That's true. And I keep telling myself that it's like, you know, we work harder to conserve in other ways, and like this is temporary, and we will go back to being more environmentally conscious, conscientious.
And now that you know that there's other like silicone options or whatever, like you can always switch when you finish your pack.
Yeah, but there's just like a million of them in there.
I know, but it's not like you can also look into donate. Well, I guess it's too early to donate, but like finish those and then go to the others. It's not like you're not going to need breast milk for the next 6 months. So
that's true. I mean,
so I think we're just about done with overnight diapers, which is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's gotta feel good.
Did I talk about this last week? Every morning we hear at 5:30 a.m. Then like a minute goes by. Can somebody wipe me? It's like, fuck, it's 5:34. Okay.
Not picky though. Just like somebody, anybody.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. If his brother wipes him, cool, whatever. It doesn't matter. He just knows that he's not wiping himself. So
his little hands don't reach.
Well, he was pooping at school, and they made him wipe himself. And I think we talked about this, that he was having an issue because he was too short for the toilet, and they didn't have the step stool, and blah blah blah. Anyway, so now he's trained himself that he poops like first. I mean, he's always been a first thing in the morning wake himself up pooper since he was a baby. But now he'll have just a little bit of poop, after he gets home right before dinner. Just a little bit to like cleanse himself of the day.
Just to make him feel alive.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, let me make room for some dinner because my stomach is, wee ounces big. But like, all this is to say, I'm happy that I think my carbon footprint is finally coming to an end. Maybe, we'll see. I brought it up tonight. I was like, how do you feel about not wearing a diaper? Like when this pack is over, you think you can do it? And he actually didn't answer, which is weird for him. So I feel like maybe he's thinking about it and like a little nervous.
Just to mull it over.
But we still have a whole sleeve left, so he's got time. He's got at least 15 days or however much is in that sleeve. Because he only does one a day because he doesn't need it at nap time anymore. So, but
nice.
Yeah, it gets better, Amanda. I promise.
Yeah, it's been a rough week, and I think for all the wonderfulness of working from home and like being right there, and not having to deal with a commute, and like being able to like pop out and like see her and hang out and help out with a few things around the house. It's like you're also there, and she knows you're there, and she, like. She can still hear my voice.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, I think she's clever enough to know
she's
that,
flexing.
Like when she's getting a bottle and she can hear my voice in the other room, she's like,
Yeah. This isn't quite 98.6. How can we make this happen?
It's like,
oh, the tap is over there.
It's like, she's just right over there. I don't see why I got to be doing this.
Yeah. Fiona is a fountain beverage only kind of girl.
Eden?
Oh my God, I'm sorry. That was a terrible mistake. Let me say that again. Eden is a fountain beverage only kind of girl.
I mean, aren't we all, though? I'd much prefer a fountain beverage to a can or bottle.
True. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I'm the fucking worst. I'm so sorry.
Names are hard.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah. Good times. Well, hopefully she'll learn to, love the canned stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also like us planning a little better, that it's just like, okay, well, maybe we don't stay in such close proximity when it's mealtime and I can't feed her. And
maybe we need
our
to be
apartment is big enough that like we can be far enough away and not have to, where she's out of earshot and can't hear me. And,
like out of sight, out of mind, or whatever.
And it's like it's like finding a routine because like we're not terribly good at routines, and apparently babies really appreciate them.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so we just have to plan a little harder is all, and I think we'll get there. It's just
yeah.
It's just been tough, and I'm tired, and it's hard. I get it, working moms. I understand now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I spent 36 hours in Anaheim, California this weekend, and
yeah. Out of all of us, I think you actually had a good week.
I had a spectacular weekend. Actually, it was really great. Like, we left at 6. Okay, so it started on Friday, where my story starts on Thursday morning, where I dropped my RAV4 off because Jay's GTI had also died, and it was a $10,500 fix for the engine. And we were like, well, since Jay works from home, perhaps we just get the RAV4 fixed up and, go from there. And save the money for a little while and get another car, a year or so from now. So I took the RAV4 in. I knew there was going to be some issues because it hasn't been driven very much over the last several years and blah, 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 blah. The good news was it only needed $2,000 worth of fixes, and they were very reasonably priced because they fixed a lot of shit. Like, the brakes were metal to metal, so they put totally new brakes in. They put new struts, new shutters, maybe not shutters, I don't know the words. There was like 4 or 5 or 6 things that they did, and they were all fairly reasonably priced. And there were some things that they told us, we're going to put these on here, but you can do it yourself, like replacing the air filters, and the brights need new lights because they're not bright enough or whatever. But, they told us on Thursday, this car is not going to pass inspection. And I was like, yes, I know that. That's why inspection was due on June 30th, and it is now September 9th, and we have not gotten inspected, and that is mainly because the car doesn't get driven, and our governor has suspended late fees for inspections, so we were like, whatever, but because of COVID. So, whatever, they were like, well, we can, if you give us, the weekend, we can fix it up. And we were like, okay, we're gonna be out of town this weekend. Well, that's perfect timing, great. Except Jay was officiating a wedding for his former coworker in Asheville, which is 4.5 hours away, on Friday. So we rented him a car on Friday. I bring him there 45. Oh, no, I bring him there, we got there, I think it was 40 minutes before he had to leave. There was such a long line that he was there for over an hour, and he was kind of, freaking out. He gets on the road, gets there 30 minutes before the ceremony, where he was supposed to be there, more than an hour beforehand because there was also some traffic, and, whatever. So he does the ceremony. The ceremony is, 15 minutes, takes some pictures, turns around, drives 4.5 hours back, gets home at midnight.
Shit.
Gets home at midnight, and we leave. We wake up at 4:30 the next morning, and we leave for the airport at 5:20 because we had to drop the rental car back off, and our flight was at 6:30. So blah, 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 blah. So our weekend starts out whirlwind, and we land in LAX, and I was like, why didn't we tell Cliff that we were going to be here this weekend? And Jay was like, I don't know. We didn't really make any plans. And I was like, I'm going to just text him. So it's 8:45 your time, Pacific time. And I text Cliff a picture of the airplane. He responds an hour later because naturally he's sleeping. And he was like, I was like, guess where we are? And he was like, I don't know where that is, but I'm going to guess you're saying California. And I was like, you're right. So we ended up meeting with Cliff, and, we used to see Cliff every single day. So it's great. It was actually just like old times. We had a really great, fun time with him. We went to downtown Disney, walked around, and then hung out at the hotel, in the lounge area. Disney itself was sold out. We tried to get tickets, but they had Fright Fest this weekend, whole, from now through Halloween. So... And tickets were limited to begin with because of COVID, which was fine. But it was super fun, just to see Cliff again. And he told us when we were walking to downtown Disney, he was like, when I read your text, I was making soup for dinner, and then I put that soup in the fridge and was like, I'm hanging out with Jay and Colleen. I'm going to eat and drink a lot tonight. And I was like, yes, you are. Let's make that come true. So, I don't know, it was a really fun night. And then the next day, we went to a Padres game at Dodger Stadium with Jay's best friend growing up, Ryan, who was our best man at our wedding, and his wife, Jennifer. And we went to that. And then after that, Aunt Cindy picked us up. We saw Aunt Cindy and Uncle Brett and Aunt Mary, Jay's aunts and uncle. It was just a really fun weekend. And the thing, and then we got, on our plane, it was a red eye, and it was crazy because I swear to God, there was less than 150 people on our flight. Like, it was so empty. There were empty rows. So, like, I don't know why Jay didn't move to the empty row across from us, but he stayed, like, in our row. But I took the middle seat in ours and, like, had the little neck pillow and was just like...
Yeah.
I laid down.
That's the best.
I laid down, and I, at one point, sat up, and I was like, fuck, we haven't taken off yet? This is really weird. And then I saw on the little screen that we were an hour and a half into our flight. So I was like, oh, sweet.
It's the best.
It was the best.
The best.
And then Jay told me the next morning that, because it's LAX, we sat on the runway for like 40 minutes. So I'd actually been asleep for like 2.5 hours.
Nice. Well done.
So I was like, this is great. I mean, I didn't know that at the time. So then we landed, because we were on the runway for a little bit longer than we were supposed to. We landed a little bit later, but still we got home by 7:15. I took a nap from 7:30 to 8:30. I woke up at 8:30. I took a shower. I went to my OBGYN. Found out that now I don't need a pap smear for 3 more years. So that was awesome.
Yay.
Nice. Great weekend.
It was great. It was great. And then I got a text while I was in the OBGYN's office asking me something about work. And I was like, supposed to work from home on Monday and then go in today, Tuesday. And I'm thinking, I'm actually feeling great, like pretty good. Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but like I feel like my kids were just up all night exhausted. Like, I don't feel like I had like this crazy weekend exhausted. So I was like, I'll just come in as soon as my appointment's done, which is what I would have done anyway, right? So I did that, and then I was able to work from home today, and
Nice.
Nice.
yeah, so good times.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah. I have a blog post. It's going to be done by the time this episode comes out, and I will share more about our 36 hours in Anaheim. But yeah, it was fun, and I'm very glad that we got to do it. On the way there, I actually watched the all the coverage for the 9/11 stuff, and I have to say, it is so crazy that it's been 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's been really, it hit me harder than I was expecting.
Same. Like, we actually, like, talked about it on the last show, like, how 9/11 has brought us some crazy patriotism, but, like, I don't know, just thinking about it, I texted, my best friend in high school, Brian, who did the Married Man show Once Upon a Time. Like, I texted him when we landed, and I was like, you're the one that told me. And then he relayed to me, like, he was the first person to know in our school, most likely. Because he just happened to, because don't forget, in 2001, there was no cell phone notifications. There were no iPhones.
Different world.
Yep.
Different world.
Yeah.
And he happened to have that period free, and he saw on Yahoo News, and then went to message boards, because message boards was a thing in 2001, and they were still reporting it, and then the bell rang to, switch periods, and he was like, well, fuck this. I'm not gonna, like, at the time, it was just one plane flew into the World Trade Center, and even, like, I walked into the office, and our teacher was there. He told us, and we were, like, the second and third people to maybe know in the school, and I didn't realize this until you told me, but, like, yeah, and at the time, we even thought, like, oh my God, some dumbass flew a plane into a building. Like, we thought it was just, some freak thing, and we had the coverage going on, and then, and we had my parents on the phone, and our teacher's wife on the phone, and, like, because we were in different lines, and I had the cell phone, because my grandpa had cancer that August, and I was at camp, so he'd given me the phone because he was having the surgery to remove it. that, and I had not given him the phone back. So like I had the phone at that point and I still never gave it back. That was the day that he was just like, you know what, why don't you keep it? I'll just get another number. So it's also the 20th anniversary of me, officially having my phone number. But yeah, like just kind of crazy just to think about like how then I remember, like, Brian was like, I'm the one that told our principal, and I remember him telling the principal, and the principal didn't know. Like, I vividly remember that. It was just, news was not shared the way that it is shared now. And then, like, we followed him as he told the different cafeterias, because each grade had a different cafeteria, and it was just super just crazy. And, like, I remember the first tower fell.
Are you telling me you had 4 cafeterias in your high school?
No, we only had 3 grades in our high school.
So you had 3 cafeterias?
Yeah, we had a senior cafeteria, and then we had definitely a second one, and I feel like we had a third smaller one. It was they had added on a few years before we joined. Like
when you went to a regional cafeteria.
Yes,
right?
yeah. I went to a high school. It was my school district was 20 square miles, so I went to a huge high school, and it was still only 3 grades. So. But yeah, like I remember we went to the cafeterias but like, okay, so when the first tower fell, my parents were on the phone and they were like, a tower fell, and my teacher didn't believe it, and we were trying to like refresh AOL News or whatever it was, and like refresh, and my teacher called his wife, and she was like, no, it fell, because he was like, no way it did, and then we were all got AOL News to load or whatever the news was that we were doing. It was very, very slow. But then, like, we saw the second tower fall, and it was just crazy. And I can't believe that was 20 years ago. And it really made me feel like my age, and it's made me feel how sad I am about how far the country has come in a direction that the people that perpetrated the attacks probably hoped that we had come.
100%.
Because, as we talked about last week, the day after, everybody was, like, flying their flags and came together, and Congress was singing on the steps, singing God Bless America on the steps of Congress, and, like, that would not happen today. Like,
meanwhile, I was participating in my first political march against going to war, so some people were flying flags, a couple of us weren't.
Right.
I actually recently randomly happened upon an album that came out in 2003. It's a singer from Missoula that I used to listen to a lot in high school, and the live album, like, it's 2003, so like you got to put yourself in that time, and like there's a lot of it's depressing for the same reasons that you were just saying, Colleen, because there's a lot of like, anti-war stuff in it, and it's just like, wow, and here we are, 20 years later, and fuck, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, because putting up a flag is easy. Doing the work to make sure these things don't happen again is much harder. It requires actually doing something, and when we can't all agree on basic facts, it's really hard to do anything.
And I think that's what it is when we can't all agree on basic facts, or because it's not even agreeing. I think we'd all be surprised about how much the far left and the far right, or even just like the middle, like everybody agrees on things. It's just we're taught to no, we're not taught to. We've all been conditioned over the last Obama years, thanks to the racism, to automatically hate what the other side stands for. And even though I think so many people agree on specific things, like I tell this story, like when we talk about like forgiving student loan debt, like I was so surprised when my mom was like, no, we need to do something about student loan debt. I don't think we should forgive it, but I think that we should either make it 0 interest or, up to 2% interest. So that way it's something that is a realistic thing that you can pay back. And I was like, wow, like, I'm glad that I actually gave you the chance to say that, because that is a interesting perspective that I did not expect you to come out with. And it's just things like that where you can actually reasonably discuss something and meet in the middle and, share your perspective on things. Like, like she feels from an old school perspective, like if you borrow money, you should still pay it back. I in my experience talking to, because I'm lucky that I don't have any student loans because of my parents, thankfully. But like, you know, I understand that I have a lot of friends who have been saddled with a debt because they've been told like they have to go to college, they have to do these loans, they have to do this, they have to do that, and you can't really make these decisions when you're 17 or 18 years old to be settled with debt for the rest of your life. Like, it's just not realistic.
You simply don't understand the magnitude of what that even means. And they will give you thousands upon thousands of dollars to go to school, which is a wonderful pursuit. Don't get me wrong. But with no guarantee of what, like, you have no income at the time. So it's just wild to me that then later on in life, when you do have an income and you're trying to maybe get like a loan to buy a house, it's like, oh, well, okay, you have an income now, but you also have like, you know, more debt than other people. So we can't loan you the money that you might need for a house. It's like,
just the amount of...
How does that make sense?
And
how
even,
is that fair?
and
like,
even
what?
people on the right actually have been there and think it's a fucking problem, but because the way that they're told by their media that yes, that's a problem, but the Democrats want to give all of that away for free to immigrants and people who don't deserve it. And that is where the fundamental difference comes in, is because you've got that side of the aisle. Like, everybody basically understands what the fundamental problems are in society, right? But they're presented the problem in a way of like fear versus a way of like real people are experiencing this, and these real people are people, right? The people that you're trying to stop from being aborted, like they're here and they're in this situation, whereas they're told by their media to expect the worst in people.
Well, but I don't even know if it's completely just that. I think it's also this notion, and I don't know if this is a taught notion or just inherent to certain people of like, well, I did it. I took a loan. I paid it all back on my own. I don't see why other people should get this privilege that I didn't get.
Well, I think it's part of it too.
And I don't think that's something that's necessarily their media is teaching them. I think there's something inherently selfish in...
Well, no, but that's the thing.
I think that's our society.
It's selfish. It's
inherently selfish and individualistic,
and the media
doesn't value the society as a whole.
But don't forget, all these people are also Christians that are taught to not be selfish. But then you have their media that is pushing the notion of, well, you worked hard. Well, you did this. Why should this person get this because you didn't? So I think it's a combination of both.
Right. There are people who say that they're Christian, but they don't actually live Christian values. So.
Yeah,
that's a whole other nutshell. But I think, and also, Colleen, like, you made a good case in your explanation just a few minutes ago that really what it comes down to, too, is like one side is more racist, generally speaking, than the other. The left has a lot of racism problems. I'm not saying the contrary, but like when the problem is that one side is a little bit more triggered by like immigration,
right, and
etc.
And because this whole thing's, but so yes, to go back to my point is, I think that the reaction to both, it's just, I hate to use the term both sides, but like the reaction is you have to hate what the other people think. Like that is a direct result of what happened on 9/11 is people got polarized. However, there is a spectacular episode of The Daily from Thursday. That's where I was getting with all this. It was from Thursday, September 9th, I think it was. And it's called I'm Part of Something That's Really Evil. And it talks about the FBI.
Oh my God, I listened to that one.
Yeah, it talks about
I did.
You should give it a listen. It talks about the FBI and how off the rails, racist, horrible, terrible it got after 9/11. And that was my original point going back was that just give that episode a listen. It's actually like, so this dude was a whistleblower in the way that, like Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden were whistleblowers about things going on in the government. But because he was a black FBI agent, he just got jail time, and his interview didn't go viral, and they're trying to.
Well, and also because the people that he was talking about
were the FBI. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, the people who are being targeted are like
Black
black
Muslims.
and brown people who are Muslim. So basically, just like society at large, just kind of shrugged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But give it a listen, because it actually, that's where I was going with this whole 9/11 thing. It's very, I mean, it's not anything that we couldn't have guessed, but it's very eye-opening to hear somebody's story being told that's like kind of confirming. Because I can tell you firsthand in the conservative communities, just having listened to it when I'm around them, like they still use the name Mohammed as like a slur to infer that every Muslim is trying to like bring your plane down, or
That's really gross.
yeah, and they still do it today. Like it's just it's very sad. It's sad, it's disturbing, it's alarming, it's infuriating, it's all of those things. So
well, and that's just it. Like the way that many people responded to 9/11, it fits into this sort of easy mindset of we're going to scapegoat someone. Oh, there's an enemy that we can identify and we can all like unite against them and just be like racist xenophobes and, you know, go down like this really dark rabbit hole, but that unites people in a really powerful but terrible way.
yeah.
And what I never understood, and call me naive or a Pollyanna, but like, why did we need to respond to 9/11 automatically in a violent way? Like, there could have been other options, but it's like people think it's crazy to even imagine other options.
Because there always has to be a cop and there always has to be a robber. There always has to be a hero. There always has to be a villain. There always has to be a good guy. There always has to be a bad guy. And there's no nuance.
Which is such
there's no black and white.
It's such a juvenile and simplistic
super
view
is.
of the world. And I wish that we could grow up and mature a little beyond that. But we are a young nation and we haven't. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It is.
And it's like I don't justify it or condone it at all, but I think with that much loss of life and at a level that had just was just really unfathomable. And I think even now looking back on it 20 years older, like to look back on just how unfathomable how much life was like squashed out in one day. I think there was blood in the water. Like people, you know, coming to the table to have a diplomatic discussion, I think was just not enough for the American appetite, you know, which I think sort of speaks to Shandy, exactly what you're saying. Like there's just something in the American fiber that, you know, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, like you hit us, we hit back harder. And I'm not condoning it. I'm just, there is just something in the America spirit that, you know.
Let's keep in mind, though, how many people have died a day of COVID in which all these same motherfuckers can't come together, can't raise a flag, can't even get a fucking shot in their arm because they... my freedom, you're free, you know, as soon as you get freedom, you give it up forever. Like, get the fuck out of here. Go fuck yourselves. Fuck you. Eat shit and die. I have all that stuff to say to you guys because it's infuriating. I had to sit through a family fucking text where they were sending pictures of Donald Trump literally autographing at a New York police station this weekend. I love you all. And they were like, what a perfect message. And I was like, I'm sorry, is this a birthday card? The man that skipped the ceremony so he could go host a fucking WWF match or whatever?
I was going to say, was he even in New York? Wasn't he like coaching boxing or something?
He was doing he was doing a boxing commentary for fucking money where everybody else was doing their shit for free, but okay. But like, they were like, perfect message, and I was like, oh my god, congratulations! He can write the same words in a sentence as Zachary can without having to copy it on a birthday card. Great job, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They were, miss him yet? And I was like, ha ha ha, no, I don't miss him ever. Remember, he's the one that bragged that he had the tallest towers in New York after the Twin Towers fell. That guy, he had the perfect message. Oh, it was infuriating. I wanted to fucking kill myself. I will admit that I drank a definitely had a double makers after that because I was like, I can't deal with this conversation right now.
Yeah.
Jay just deleted it from his phone. He like noped out, and I was like, I can't nope out. I'm just gonna mute it. I'm gonna drink and forget about it until the morning. In which they kept going, so I couldn't forget about it. So that was also just I know.
Wasn't Trump also like into the conspiracy theory that 9/11 was an inside job?
I don't know. Trump can die.
He's into like every
I hate
conspiracy
him.
theory, so probably.
Like pushing the narrative of like, oh, there were those two Muslims on the other side of the river.
He
like,
was, oh yeah, that's right. I remember Fox News because I grew up in Fox News, the only thing that we were able to trust because everything else was just, super bad media. Fox News was the only people that would tell you the truth. I heard that so many times. But yes, we saw the alleged footage of Muslims cheering across the river in New Jersey that the Twin Towers had fallen. And Trump definitely pushed that. But he also pushed birtherism and a whole bunch of other things.
It was
so
all
again,
around the same time.
super terrible person.
More
that
examples of the shining example of what a perfect example of humanity.
Exactly. Every time I ask myself, what would Jesus do? He answers, not what Donald Trump would do.
Right, exactly. But but to your point, like about COVID is, it's terribly politicized and stupid, but like, why don't we care? Obviously we care, but like, as like,
why they don't care? I can
collective.
Why don't we unite? Why don't we unite against COVID?
I can tell you exactly why.
United against, and that's,
they believe that the numbers are fake. They believe the numbers are fake. They believe that the statistics and data on vaccines are fake. It is insane. And I know this because I have witnessed it firsthand.
But again, like, why do they believe that the numbers are fake?
Because their media is telling them.
Right. But why is their media telling them that? All of this is because there isn't like a person who happens to be like black or brown or
there isn't a brown scapegoat.
Or there isn't exactly. There's no one to like pin it on. It's a virus. Mm-hmm. They tried to go the xenophobic route with calling it, all of the like slurs that they call.
Well, don't forget now.
I'm not going to repeat, but
all the people from the Mexican border they're crossing the Mexican border into Florida, and that's why Florida's COVID numbers are so high.
Well, that's just it. Like they it's like they're incapable. And this goes back to what you were saying, what we were saying before about like, when it comes down to it, it's just like there's a lot of racism and xenophobia, and there's more of it concentrated on one side than versus the other. And that's why we should be united against COVID in the same way that we were united after 9/11, and we're not.
Yeah. Let's put a pin in this because we can talk about this next week during Broad Topics. Woo! Right. We'll be live for Broad Topics on Monday, September 20th, over Zoom. Same Zoom link that we always do. So we'll hope you'll join us. I put a poll up in the Facebook group, and there was enough interest, so we'll be there. Monday, 9 p.m. or 9:15 p.m.
Let's say 9:15.
Okay.
Let's set ourselves up for success.
All right, for success. 9:15 to 10:30. We'll give ourselves an hour and 15 minutes. 9:15 to 10:30 on Monday, September 20th. We can talk about all of the things. We can talk about Texas, which we're about to talk about, thanks to an email from John that we're going to get to in a minute. We can talk about 9/11 and the subsequent 20 years. We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. But the only thing is you have to show up on Zoom and you have to unmute yourselves and be a part of the conversation because the Broad Topics are all about you guys. So we'll do another one Monday the 20th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. Same link that we always do. Let me know if you need that link and I will try to send it to you.
Cool.
Okay. I guess while I'm also at it, before we hit our commercial break, Halloween, show up in your costumes on Zoom. October 26th, be there or be square. Shandy's muting herself because her neighbor is chainsawing a bunch of
obnoxious
things. Yeah. And
taking up the fine art of chainsaw sculpture.
Yeah, he sure is.
That's like a real thing. It's got a name. I can't think of it. But there's like an art form where people like make wood sculptures with chainsaws.
Yeah, it totally is.
I'd say
it's
just what he's taken up the fine art of how to be inconsiderate to your neighbors.
Well, I feel like he's been at that for a while.
Yeah.
He's been at that for a while. But I must say, this is like next level. It is almost 8 p.m.
Well, if you want to hear the original clip that we had to cut out of all the chainsaw, become a patron at the hangout at the bonus level, because that'll definitely be a bonus clip. Patreon.com/Jay and Jack, or go to jayandjack.com and become a patron at the top right-hand corner of the page. And you will hear lots of chainsawing. But anyway, also, we'll be live for the patrons next week. No, we won't. The bonus episode will be next week. Ha 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 ha. We'll be live for the patrons on the 28th. Anyway, let's put a pin in this. Let's take a commercial break. We'll come back. We'll do some feedback. And we'll get out of here. All right, starting with the feedback, Rose said, on that note, Broad's Day is the best day. Thanks, Colleen, for telling me about using the notepad for Zach's lunch. It made my heart sing. Oh, I'm glad that I did. You've got to send me the template you use so I can order more whenever we're up. We're halfway through, so there's no rush. But, if you could share with me the template, I would love to order more because I love that.
Also, speaking of an amazing 9/11 story.
Wow. Yes. If you have not read that Good Housekeeping article about our friend Ro, do yourself a favor.
I have the link, and I will put it in the show notes. It's a tab that's up still, actually, because, I don't know, I just want to keep it up because, I don't know, I felt like that was like adding it to my digital bookshelf or something. So, yeah, I will put it in the show notes, but Ro gave a wonderful interview about her third grade classroom and 9/11. So check that out, because, I mean, as much as we talk about, all the bad things that have happened since 9/11 as a result of 9/11, maybe they were inevitable, who knows, but, that still was, for those of us at least living in New York or New Jersey or the surrounding areas, it was a really awful day. It was really just a terrible time. Everybody knew somebody that was there. It was just really moving, and really, even watching that on the plane took me back. Yeah.
Right. When I criticize our reaction to it, I'm not in any way trying to, lessen or forget about the loss of life. I mean, it was fucking terrible. Again, two things that can exist.
Exactly. Coexist. Two things can exist at the same time, which is also how that whole discussion started.
Right.
Dennis said, this for Amanda, about your paid maternity leave. Did you mean that New York State paid for the 12 weeks, or the law requires employers to pay for it?
In New York State has, it's up to 12 weeks, where the state,
right,
insurance pays for it. So, we all pay into it through our taxes.
Right. But it's not a whole, it's only $1 or so a paycheck, if I remember correctly. It's not
it's not a ton. It's really not a ton of money out of your paycheck, because they're not required to pay 100% of your salary. It's 67. It's something really random. It's 67.2% of your salary.
Right, which I'm sure the math adds up to blah 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 blah.
Right. And then companies can do more in addition to. So my company has their family leave that they run concurrently with the New York paid family leave. So one rolls into the other.
Okay.
However, Daniel, because he is freelance, but he works through a union, so his union negotiated that his New York paid family leave gets paid at 100%. So the company, I don't know if the company chips in to fill out the other half, or how that works.
Yeah.
So I think there is, and I am by no means an expert, but there is some wiggle room. But we're very lucky that we live in New York State, and they offer such great package that it's really benefited our family very greatly.
Yeah.
So go New York. I hope other states adopt similar programs.
Yeah, they've got to adopt the anti-mask mandates first. There's a line of things.
I suppose we have a lot of things that we need to accomplish. But when we pay our family caregivers to take time off to care for their families, it benefits everyone, including the economy. So, it's just good. It's just good sense.
Yes.
But whatever. When have we ever done anything based out of good sense?
Right, yeah. Randy said, speaking of controversial, Randy says, Miracle Whip is greater than mayonnaise. What?
Oh, they're both terrible. Get out of here.
Cool Whip, but mayo is best.
This is where I'm gonna pull my snob card here and just say I'm guessing Randy has never had homemade mayonnaise, and I don't think it's very common in the U.S.
It's not, because I've never had it.
It is okay. So Frank is planning to buy a ticket to the Raleigh meetup. Newsflash. I will have him make you some mayonnaise when he's at your place.
Absolutely. He and Jana can have a mayonnaise off. Oh my god.
Yes.
That would be incredible. It's
very common in France to just make your own mayonnaise, and it is delicious. I could just eat that like by the spoonful. So you can't. Sorry, but Miracle Whip doesn't hold a candle.
I have an idea. If the people that are coming to Raleigh in October are down, let's have, you know how some people do in like January a chili cook-off? Let's have a mayonnaise make-off.
Well, and what's great about mayonnaise is really the process of making mayonnaise is pretty funny. Because like, you have to beat it until it starts rising.
That's what she said.
You know.
It's a science experiment.
Yeah. You end up with like a...
Let's do it.
Interesting white-ish substance.
Again, that's what she said.
There's a lot
if you break the mayonnaise, it won't come together properly. Can't break the mayonnaise.
Won't rise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Won't rise. Oh my god, amazing. I feel like this is something that we should seriously explore doing. Come on, guys. We might not be able to do karaoke this year because singing is like an actual like COVID spreading risk. We could totally make mayonnaise together. Let's explore this possibility. We have 1 month. I think it would be amazing. Janet. Randy then continued in Pennsylvania. There is a raging battle between Sheetz, which is the West PA, and Wawa East PA. Even though I'm mostly a Sheetz guy, I was thrilled that Wawa has a Miracle Whip option at their deli. I have to admit, I like Wawa Deli better than Sheetz. I can't say that I have any experience in that, but I like the Sheetz mozzarella sticks. They're like A+.
Yeah, I've never been to a Sheetz. Been to many a Wawa.
Oh, there's a Sheetz right behind my house. We could walk there when you're here.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've driven by that very Sheetz many a time. I've just never been inside.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's time for Master. She said...
We'll be solidly in the 10s at the end of the week.
Who's ever doing it may have a different way of doing it.
Oh, it is totally long enough.
Jay's going to go do his thingy.
Oh.
And
you
he
need
did.
to have... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said, and he did.
There you go. You need to have the Duke's mayo.
The Duke's mayo is pretty fucking spectacular. I'm just saying. Give me... So. It's very good mayo. Give me all the sweetness and then an extra layer of frosting.
Words to live by that.
Mm.
They hand it to you to touch.
Mm. One more. Maybe 2 more.
I'll throw in a hard one. All right. Moving on to the Facey Back. We got an email from John from Houston, and it's about the Texas abortion law. And I think that we should maybe save this for our broad topics, because this is a very good email for that.
Great.
I would love to have anybody that's on that Zoom weigh in on this particular instance. What do you guys say?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
okay.
I love it.
Okay, John, I feel like you're going to be hopefully on the Zoom. So
I sure hope so.
I hope so too. You're always fun when you were on the Broad Topics. So we're going to hold this email for that, just in case nothing happens. I mean, gosh, it's so boring nowadays. What if nothing happens between now and Monday the 20th? We need to have something to talk about. But maybe we'll open or, start off with this email, because this is definitely something that I think is worth a group discussion. So, yeah. We will save that for then. Thank you, John. Next up, we have a voicemail from Desiree. And she has a disclaimer, don't worry, it's not graphic. It's about finger injury. So let's hear what Des had to say.
Hey, Amanda, Shandy, and Colleen. This is Des. I'm in the car, so hopefully it's not too loud. I know I haven't called in a while. Yeah. Menopause is a bitch. Okay. So anyways, you said if you have any calls about chopping off fingers, any stories, give a call. So I do. I have a story. It's not gonna be that bad. I was like 3.5 maybe. My brother was like 1.5, and I do not remember this, but this is my parents have told me what happened. So we were eating at a restaurant or whatever, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and of course my little baby brother wanted to follow me. So he tried to follow me in, and I slammed the door on him, and his pinky got caught in the door jamb, and it ripped off the tip of his, like, the pad of his pinky almost all the way. So they had to take him to the hospital, and they sewed it back on, and he had a scar around his pinky pad, and it was like every time, they would tell the story and he'd show it, and I'd feel bad. I mean, I was 3.5. I was just a little baby. I didn't know any better, but yeah. So I injured my brother, ripped off half of his finger. Luckily, they were able to sew it on. This was also in the 70s. Mid to late 70s, Shandy. So in America, they did have the medical technology to sew that sucker back on. Anyways, I just wanted to let you know. Oh man, I miss my brother. Okay, guys, that's all. I just wanted to tell you that. Just the tip. Love you guys. Love the show. Bye.
I feel like Frank's is more like cleanly severed, and then they threw it away. That's the problem.
Oh, God.
But holy shit, I'm glad that your brother's finger is okay.
Ugh.
Ugh. Ugh.
I always remember the story. So I remember from college, Sarah, who I went to the Alanis Morissette concert with, her husband, TJ, they went to a wedding like 10 or 12 years ago. It was also like one of our mayor's friends, and they were so excited, and TJ slammed his finger in the car door, the rental car door, and it was hanging off, and they missed the wedding because they spent the whole time in the ER because the finger was hanging off because they, or the part, like, yeah, they had, it was real bad. I won't go into more details because it was like 10 years ago, so I don't remember, but like I remember wanting to puke when she told me the details back then. So yeah. Ever since then, anytime I shut a car door, or my kids shut a car door, I always think of TJ. I'm like, you don't want to pull a TJ.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
No, my cousin did something similar with his earlobe. He had really big gauges.
In a car door?
Yeah, the gauge caught the corner of the car door.
Ooh,
yeah.
That is not a thing I thought was possible, but yikes.
They were able to reattach his earlobe, but
ooh, ow.
Yeah. As the story goes, he took the earring and just put it in a hole in the other ear.
Wait, a car created hole or a?
No, the gauge.
Okay.
It was big honking earring.
Waste
so
not, want not.
Waste not. Just put it,
Oh my goodness.
Those things are expensive.
Wow. Alrighty then. Wow. So fun.
Yeah. I'd imagine it probably hurt less than a finger, though.
Probably.
True. If you had your pick, I think I'd pick the earlobe than the finger.
Already. Yeah. It's so funny that, like, this is a setting topic of conversation because the thing that I had pulled up for us to talk about, if we had gotten to the beginning, no, it was your most it was a Twitter feed. It was your most outlandish personal stories. And, like, one of the examples...
For a rainy day.
Yeah, one of the examples was a dude who had a friend who was getting their PhD, and it was involved in, like, insect sex, right? And long story short, they were partying with people that were in the program, and one of them had a scar on their finger. And it turned out it was the scar came from an insect boner.
Insects can have boners.
That was so basically they got the scar from a sword duel with a yeah, I don't know, it's a long paragraph, but however, that is they were gross things anyway. Maybe I will read that another night, a whole other night. Most outlandish personal stories. So start thinking of your most outlandish personal stories. As a person that is very outlandish to begin with, I feel like I have a lot of them. I know we could all probably pull together some outlandish personal stories. So anybody that wants to email them in or whatnot, do so, thebroadcasters3@gmail.com, because... Or as Desiree, I'm sure you have an outlandish story. You should tell. Oh my God, they don't know the porn story in the ceiling. They don't know any of that, any of those old stuff. So the broadcasters3@gmail.com, 331-276-2373. Let us know. We're gonna finish this up with an Andy update, and then
All right. So Andy writes in, slow news week for Andy. Hey, broads. Well, I'm at least glad I wasn't the only one confused by what she was there for. Closest guess I had was she was only looking to give BJs and other types of sex were off the table. Or she could just be a scammer looking to lure guys with no strings attached oral sex. I guess we'll never know. I'm looking forward to the day when I can move on to the next job. Not a lot of news to report there, but he showed up 45 minutes late this morning and didn't start his morning work until 3:30. Guy doesn't understand the concept of as soon as possible. I'm trying to send out a list at least once a day of tasks, and while it's been helpful for my other coworker, I wonder if he even notices. Guess I just have to take this frustration and channel it towards job hunting. Hashtag 5 years with hers, Andy. I'm still just like so intrigued. Can I somehow get this kind of hookup where I can just like roll into work 45 minutes late and not actually start until 3:30 p.m. and still be off at 5? Like that sounds, sign me up for that.
agreed.
I feel like I would have to be not me to be able to even do that. Like I would just feel too guilty.
Right.
I'd be like, oh yeah, I could be like a slacker that does nothing, and then it's, inevitably someone would ask me to do something by 10, and like, yeah, we're like, okay, yeah, sure, right away. You just have to be a special kind of person to be able to just be like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I miss doing a lot less than I do now.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm just kidding. Thank you for the update, Andy. We appreciate it. On that note, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We hope that you'll join us for the Broad Topics on September 20th at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time, p.m. Special announcement, Survivor with J. Jack and Colleen is back, and with J. Jack and Colleen, we're all back.
Whoa!
Yeah, it turns out
they came back.
Yeah, COVID did a hard
Also,
good.
Survivor came back?
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. As of recording this, I have 22 hours to learn all the new players and do a feedback prediction show, rather. So that's going to be exciting. Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
you
so
shouldn't spend any more time than that.
Jay would like to do all the shows live this year, and then we'll still do the bonus shows with Zach talking about the challenges for the patrons. Nice. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. If you'd like to become a patron and hear young Zachary on the Survivor JJC challenge stuff, or want to become a patron and listen to our bonus stuff for next week, or patron stuff for 2 weeks, or anything else on the network, you can go to patreon.com/JayandJack. That would be great. Thank you to the patrons, especially the ones that contribute a certain level, and that would be Tack from Tokyo, Eckhart Rigner, Maggie the Magnificent, Joanne with a Plan, and Ed the Creepy Mailman. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Join us, for Broad Topics on the 20th for our Halloween episode on the 26th of October. You need to come in costume. I'm not saying, look, okay? You want to come to Raleigh in October? You need to be vaccinated. You want to come to our Zoom in October? You need to have a costume. I'm just saying. Plenty of time to order /Google /Pinterest /something one. I'm just saying. But anyway, that's all I had. Did anybody else have anything?
No, ma'am.
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll see you on Monday the 20th. We'll see you next week on the 21st for a regular episode. On that note, my name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And I'm Shandy.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.